Well, good morning everyone. It's 10:30. We'll get the meeting underway. First of all, can I extend a welcome to Councillor Douglas Fairbairn. This is his first meeting since he was elected to the Council in the recent by-election in the Annandale North Ward. And could we also record our thanks to Councillor Gail McGregor, who's come off this committee, for the contribution that she made. And I'd also like to welcome the leader to this committee because he replaces Graham Tate. As members are aware, today's agenda contains... Order. We'll probably see him more often than we saw Graham Tate. Anyway, as members are aware, the agenda contains a report on the Galloway Viking Horde. I've agreed to take this as a late item of business because discussions were ongoing up until the beginning of the week. And what I would do is take a recess at that point for about 10-15 minutes for members to have a look at the report. Okay, can we Sederunt apologies, please?
Thank you, Chairman. We have 16 members present this morning. We've got 4 apologies from Councillor Collins, Dryborough, Marshall and Syme. Councillor Nichols expected but running late.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest? No. Minute of 20th October, happy to propose this to record.
Happy to second.
Okay. But first item on the agenda is the COSLA Excellence Awards 2016 report by Director of Communities. Councillor Stitt, I believe you had something to say on this. Nothing like being parochial, but we'll have the minute amended. Could I point out the COSLA Excellence Awards celebrate the very best in Scottish local government. This year's Excellence Awards taken place during a time of great and considerable challenge for local government. So it's especially important to give public recognition to 2 projects which have risen to these challenges and been successful at a national level. I'm delighted that Dumfries and Galloway Council won 2 awards this year. A Gold Award for the Persons at Risk Database project and the Solus Best Team Excellence Award for the Beat the Streets project. This committee regularly receives reports on the work of these 2 projects. I know that elected members have been most impressed with the real difference that they've made to people's lives locally. Our council is committed to supporting people being healthy and active, as well as protecting our most vulnerable people, and these projects go to the heart of delivering these commitments. I'm pleased that we have with us today some of the people who played a key role in these projects. So, for the Persons at Risk Database project, we'd like to stand up. We have Mark Thompson, Lynn Metcalf, Gavin Keith, William Neal and Daniel McKeever. And I think we should show our appreciation for the award that they won. And for the Beat the Streets project with Stuart Hamilton and Peter McCormick, if they'd like to stand. And whilst we're dealing with success, we'd also like to bring to members' attention the recent success of Roseanne Drysdale. If you'd like to stand with your award there, Roseanne. She was awarded the Roseanne was awarded the Jeanette Proud Memorial Education Prize from the Institute of Revenues, Ratings and Valuation for the best performing student in Scotland. The dedication and commitment that Roseanne has shown has clearly demonstrated that she's a valuable asset to the Revenues team in Stranraer and indeed serving people throughout Dumfries and Galloway Council. I can point out that in this particular award that Roseanne scored 296 points out of 300. So if you wish to hold your cup up high and... I'd just like to say that's a bigger cup than Queen of the South will win this year. Anyway, moving on and thanking everyone very much. So I'll now move to the recommendations. Can we note the COSLA Gold Award for Delivering Excellence and the Solus Best Team Excellence Award? Patsy?
Yes, it's just on the Beat the Street thing. I mean, what's the legacy for that? You know, does it go elsewhere? Do we do it again? Is it bigger? Or is it just a one-off and we've done it really well? Because that would seem to me to be rather a pity if that's the case. Just wonder where you go from here.
Thank you, Chair. Since the Beat the Street initiative was run in Dalbeattie and Annan, the project team have taken forward funding applications and managed to secure funding to deliver the project in Stranraer. Since that, the two projects initially in Annan and Dalbeattie, I moved on from my post, but Peter certainly has taken forward the initiative in Stranraer to a high degree of success as well. And Peter may want to add to the future legacy of the actual game. But within the two communities of Dalbeattie and Annan, there is a lasting legacy in that the community were involved in all of the engagement work, and a project team of local volunteers has delivered and continued to deliver things like Friday night fun walks in Annan, and there's initiatives in Dalbeattie Forest that are being taken forward by volunteers at a very local level.
Yeah, certainly the legacy from Annan and Dalbeattie is that we're still applying for further funding for further projects in both of those towns. We're working very closely with the local community in Dalbeattie, who are Healthy Dalbeattie, a group set up, the local GP and other interested parties within in Dalbeattie to actually deliver infrastructure improvements within the town, and it's actually proven very useful in applying for further funding through community links, etc.
Yeah, Chair, I think it would be remiss of us if we wanted to recognise Rory Payton as part of Peter's team and the tremendous success Beat the Street was in Stranraer. I think he excelled all figures throughout the whole of Great Britain. I think it was some 44% of people registered that participated from the population of Stranraer and surrounding area. So it was a tremendous success. The legacy in that respect, and Rory is working hard on it, and I think it's coming from the organisers or management in London to that there'll be an historian walk will be resuscitated in Stranraer. And that's working with Antiquarian Society. So Rory's working on a number of projects from the Beat the Street. So there is a legacy over the next 9 months or so that again Rory's working on, and it falls nicely with the celebration of Stranraer 400, which is the 400th year of Stranraer being a royal and ancient borough. So there is a legacy, and Rory's working hard on it.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm just wondering if we should actually, I think Ronnie will probably do something at full council, but I'm wondering if this committee should actually be putting a 2.3 in to commend the hard work and the dedication of the staff and the residents who are all involved in this project, because without them this wouldn't have happened.
Thanks, Chair. Basically, Willie's just done exactly what I was going to do for Rory's side of it, just so that his name is being mentioned, and the rest of it was involved. It was really good. Well done.
On it.
Yeah, I think the legacy is even longer than that. I think the legacy will go on for years and years, and you know what I'm proud of. These awards kind of sum up what this council is all about. You know, innovative and joined up services, hard-working staff, and what they're doing is changing lives every day. So, and that's a legacy, if you want, and ongoing.
Thank you all very much. Can we agree the recommendations along with the caveat that Councillor Ferguson put in? Members agreed on that? Thank you. Item 5, which is Director's 6 monthly assessment of Communities Directorate Business Plan Performance. Report by Director of Communities. The report is an assessment of delivery of 2015 to 18 business plan for the Communities Directorate and provides a review for the 6-month period from April to September this year. It's reassuring that despite the financial challenges facing the Directorate, services continue to achieve good results in terms of delivery of both key performance indicators and projects. Colin Holmes is here to take any questions on the report. Members?
Chairman, could you put your mic on, please?
Sorry. Communities Revenue Monitoring Report 2016-17, report by Director of Communities. Report updates members on the community's budget. Members will recall this time last year with a projected overspend of just under 400,000, and by the end of the year with a surplus of just over 100,000. At the Policy and Resources Committee on 22nd of November, members were advised that Communities Directorate is on schedule to deliver savings this year amounting to just over 1.8 million. It is therefore important for members to appreciate the very challenging financial climate that we are working in, and this places considerable demands on services to both achieve efficiency savings whilst delivering our Council's priorities. And Derek will take any questions on the report. You get anything to add, Derek?
No, just to echo your points, Chairman, the recent publication all members have no doubt seen from the Accounts Commission clearly highlights the challenges facing local government with increasing pressures from a long-term decline in funding and therefore alongside that rising demand for services and increasing costs. So I would just reaffirm that the Council Reshape programme is so important because we need to change the way we work to deal with these severe challenges. The establishment of the Communities Directorate, as members know, is at the heart of the Council Reshape, and this is far less about structural change and far more about cultural change and equipping our staffs to deal with the skills they need to go forward. So the combination of restructuring and cultural change is undoubtedly presents significant challenges to us at this present time. So despite that, I'm certainly reassured by the commitment of managers and staff to maintain first-class frontline services, as you've heard in the business plan update, whilst operating in an environment where clearly reducing budgets and continuous change have become the norm. Happy to take any questions, Chairman.
Members? Take Jim and then Jane.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's the details that's in paragraph 3.4. Overspend is predominantly due to an under-recovery of the burials income. In plain English, does that mean that fewer families have chosen to actually bury their loved ones this year than they did last year?
That's entirely the case in pure English. You're quite right, Councillor McClung. We're currently looking at the details so we can establish whether, in fact, which is clearly a good news story, if in fact less people are actually dying. And therefore, we clearly would hope that is the case, and as a result, there's reduced income. Quite clearly, that does present a challenge for us at this time. We're monitoring that information and happily provide members with an update early in the new year. But in plain English, yes, there's less people using the service.
So actually, we've got to gainsay the director and say there's a reduced demand for services. What I was going to ask you about, or really say, I suppose, is, sorry to inject a slightly glum note, but it's actually also up to members, elected members. We decided that we would go through things like the community facilities review and deal with integrated customer services, and we haven't done that. Partly because we actually haven't taken the necessary decisions to push it forward. So I'm just pointing out to members that officers can only do so much. There are things that can't happen because we actually drag our feet. And I think it's really important that members understand that things that we don't want to have happen do actually have an ongoing effect on the ability of these services to come in budget, at budget point.
You begin to sound like Donald Rumsfeld talking about the unknown knowns and the known unknowns and not knowing the unknown knowns. Could you be a bit more specific?
Port Patrick.
That's subject to another matter. Leader?
Chair, I actually quite agree with Jane in this, and I agree with Derek that it's up to the council. There are hard decisions, but these decisions have been made. We've got targets to meet within that, and we've got to expedite these decisions in a speedy manner. Now, I know that it might not suit everyone in here, but these decisions have been made. These decisions have got to be carried out, and if we prevaricate, the savings won't be made, and this is the danger of what's happening just now.
Stephen?
Thanks, Chair. It's just actually in relation to 3.5 in terms of homelessness service. Obviously, we're still coming to terms, I suppose, with the rollout of universal credit. what is in terms of the detailed work that we're actually doing to review this, how are we embracing the challenge of maybe being able to streamline how we deliver homelessness and ensure that those who are in need of the service are getting their benefits maximised, etc., to make sure that there's the appropriate levels of income to deliver the service?
Harry?
Thanks, Chair. I think on a national basis, our benefits maximisation team have got an extremely good track record of not just dealing with our customers that come in to apply for specific benefits, but being proactive to say, did you realise you also qualify for X, Y and Z, and then giving them the support and help to putting them through that process. This has become more important as some of the benefit processes very much depend upon digitised services. So we provide that assisted digital support to make sure that people are not disadvantaged in any shape or form when they need to give personal information or advice, etc., through that route. We've now had it confirmed that full service rollout of universal credits taking place in Dumfries and Galloway from February 2018, and we're already having regular dialogue with DWP, etc., to make sure that we are well placed to respond to that. So I'm certainly confident with the range of services that now sits under customer services, the management team that I've got are collectively working together to ensure that the best of possible service, information, advice is given to customers, clients as they need it.
No, thanks, and take a lot of reassurance from that. I think the other side of the coin, obviously, though, is the cost of us actually providing the homelessness service as well, because I know that homeless accommodation is often, for various reasons, higher. It's a higher cost to provide that. Is there other options that we're looking at to make that more efficient as well?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, indeed, as has been reported to House and Sub and indeed this committee at the last meeting, one of the key bits of work we're currently undertaking is a review of all temporary accommodation across Dumfries and Galloway. That's to ensure it's the right size and the right location and, just as importantly, the right quality. I think we have got a range of different arrangements across the region in terms of some of them have went through a procurement process, some of them are historical arrangements. We're trying to consolidate all that, which I am confident will result in efficiencies, plus will provide better accommodation for people that need it. So that work is very much in progress at the moment.
Yes, Chair, still on the same subject of homelessness, and indeed only this week at Business Transformation Subcommittee, you indeed led on this, Chair, in terms of the innovation in providing for suitable accommodation, so be it again on a temporary basis, more to do with supported accommodation, and indeed I believe that it was the Chief Executive says that there's a project that he and the Council are working on for Stranraer, using one of the old buildings that has been vacated and to put that into flats for young people. And I think it's moving young people on from permanently being in homeless accommodation and being provided for to equip them and see how able they are at taking on and securing their own tenancy. So I think we really need to look at some or be more innovative in how we look at homelessness and how we provide for many of these young people who do require the support. And I'm quite sure there could be savings made within that rather than continually keeping people in permanent, almost homeless accommodation. Just on the point being made earlier, yeah, there is a huge task for officers to try and reach the targets and provide the savings that we have set within budget. But I think we've also got to be conscious of the fact that are we putting people at risk in terms of the savings? And I don't believe that some of the savings that we have agreed may be achievable. And as I say, that Business Transformation Subcommittee, then someone has got to stand up and say enough is enough. Where we're going to be looking next year in 17-18 to try and find anything between 20 and 25 million. So at some point in time, then either the council or the people are going to have to say, look, yeah, enough is enough. We can't keep cutting to the point where there is no longer any service or services.
Well, day of reckoning is 2 weeks today. I think that's going to be the statement from Mr. Mackay. Andy?
Thanks very much, Leader. Chair. Don't expect an answer today, but maybe Harry can maybe bring something back. I'm looking at the benefit maximisation team and everything else, and I know it's not quite the agenda item, but it's got an effect here. Just like try and find out how many people we've tried to help, but who then refuse that help. Because it's refusing to, for whatever reason, to take on or no cooperate in the fiat process, the benefit maximisation process. Because I'd like to find out if that was if that's a significant number, and if it is, then what's the reasons for that? Why are they not engaging with something that should on the surface be helping them, but by not doing anything, it has a knock-on effect on others, because obviously that money could be used for somebody else.
Thanks, Chair. To touch on maybe a couple of issues that have been raised, including Councillor Ferguson's, one of the things we're focusing on at the moment is to look at customer journeys of customers that come in to either access the homeless service, the benefit service, financial advice service, to find out, A, the reason that they're needing to access those services to start with, and who else they have been in touch with, because there's a whole plethora of different agencies, services that could give very similar advice. And I think what we've got to really focus on is what added value different partners, including the council, can add to somebody's set of circumstances. And there is some examples that we're looking at in more detail at the moment, which of course will come back to members at the right time, that will try and set out where that potential duplication exists. It may be that somebody that accesses financial information advice services, the council, for whatever reason, don't want to engage with council services, but then subsequently go to a partner agency that may be funded by the council to get the same type of advice. So that's a bit of work that we're doing at the moment, but certainly we need to get into the nuts and bolts of that, and I'll bring that back in front of members at the appropriate time.
Anybody else? Nope. Move to recommendations. Happy to accept. Oh, sorry, Ronnie.
Just going back a wee bit to what I said, I think it is important that we're in a position now, and quite rightly Willie says that we're in a position that nobody wanted to be in, but this has been forced upon local government, these cuts, and we've got, if we don't expedite decisions that we've already made, for example in the communities review, that'll have a knock-on effect to what we're trying to achieve and protect vulnerable, direct our money where it is and direct proper resources where we can into something that, that's one of our high priorities.
Thank you. We move to recommendations 2.1 to 2.4. Members happy to accept? Thank you. Move on to item 7, Major Festivals and Events Strategy 2014-17, report by Head of Civic and Local Services. Member Council's number one priority is to build a local economy, and one of the ways we do this is targeting resources at festivals and events with strong tourism potential. This report presents the opportunity to review the effectiveness of the Major Festival and Events Strategy 2014-17, and Harry Thompson's here to take any questions. Open up to members. Patsy?
I don't have any questions. I do have a statement to say about the Major Events Toolkit. I personally find it really useful and had a lot of appraisals from community members. And I'm sure this is very useful to a lot of organizations. And thanks to the team to produce this. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. 3.12, obviously Councillor Smith's been on the television recently regarding the Police Scotland costs for events, and it's not just affecting music festivals, it's affecting people at Dumfries Show and smaller organisations and shows as well across the region. So it's quite important we get these policing costs down. So it says that Councillor Smith was going to be meeting the organisers of Police Scotland at the end of November. It's now the 1st of November. I think elected members need to be updated on this. Because there's a lot of these events have got to be planned for next year, and I need to know about the costs and whatnot.
Harry, have you got any information?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, a briefing note has been prepared just now. The meeting was held on Monday, so Monday afternoon. So the briefing note's just about ready to go out. The meeting was, I think, a full and frank exchange of views is a cliche that's used quite frequently, but it was a fairly full and frank exchange of views at the meeting between Police Scotland, the events organisers, and council officers and Councillor Smith. To bring the two sides together, if that phrase can be used. There was a clear statement from Police Scotland in terms of their approach in trying to implement a consistent approach across Scotland, and quite clearly from events organisers' perspectives, there was concerns expressed that from their contacts elsewhere in Scotland, there may be differences in approach, and Police Scotland agreed to look further at that. Police Scotland fully explained the rationale for their cost recovery, and again there was issues were raised about the ability of some events organisers perhaps to seek rebate on the grounds of there being either community interest company or a scale, and again it was agreed that we'd look further at that. And it was quite clear as well that from a Police Scotland perspective, they felt that events organisers, by bringing forward their stewarding plans at an early stage, could engage with Police Scotland at that stage, potentially to reduce the police inputs, and if necessary to tweak their stewarding plans to achieve that objective at the end of the day. I think it's clear acknowledgement Police Scotland are working with a requirement to recover their costs, but it was felt there was potentially some movement could be achieved to reduce the impacts on events within Dumfries and Galloway.
Just regarding that, it's obviously with a community safety team across the region for Dumfries and Galloway Council. I think it's maybe an opportunity to engage them fully in some of these events and maybe bring revenue into the department, because I think it's I know that it's, fireworks displays and the community safety team are present and doing a fantastic job. I think I know we haven't got many people in the community safety team, but I think it's an opportunity to use them and bring revenue into the department, revenue into the council, because this council is needing money badly.
Chair, that's certainly an option we can review. Community safety officers do participate in some community activities and events such as, for example, during Good Neighbours, the community safety officers are deployed during that to address public safety issues. And clearly one of the arguments Police Scotland put forward is that they have to put additional resources into festivals, for example, rather than remove officers from beat duty within the communities. So from our own community safety perspective, we need to be quite careful that we're not reducing our presence where it's required to address the additional demands of events and festivals, but certainly something I think going forward we can look and be mindful of.
Yeah, I would echo that. I'd be very, very wary about utilising the community safety officers. Bear in mind, it's only 2 weeks ago that as a result of freedom of information inquiries by the Scotsman newspaper about the activities of community safety officers, that we came out on top in terms of dogfiling. If you remember, we asked the public what their biggest bugbear was in the communities, and it was dogfiling. And what they found was that Dumfries and Galloway topped the poll for fining people for dogfiling. Now, the city of Edinburgh, which is 3 times the population, 10 times as many community officers, was about the worst in Scotland, and it's an urban area. So I think that the good work being done by our community safety team should not go unrecognised. Just a pity the local media didn't care to highlight that in certain instances, but 1 or 2 of the local press did pick that up, that our community safety people are there to be commended. And just as an adjunct to that, I was in Edinburgh yesterday talking to the Transport Minister. Luckily we never mentioned trains very much, but the one thing that I did ask him to look at when we came to the new transport bill that's going through, because he did mention one of the things that he'd been asked to look at was complaints, particularly in urban areas, about cars parking on pavements, which cause a blockage for disabled and people with prams, etc. So I've also asked him to take a look at empowering community wardens to deal with on-street parking, because as you know, that's a fairly big bugbear in the urban areas like Dumfries, where we're getting bus lanes blocked by cars parking double yellow lines. Up in the centre of town there, we're getting people parking unnecessarily. So he has agreed to take that on board as well. So hopefully we get new powers for the community wardens in order to help alleviate a lot of the complaints we get from the public as well. Anyway, I have digressed. Anybody else want to say anything on this report? Andy?
Thanks very much. Just a couple of things, Chair. At 3.8, I noticed there's a lot of evidence given about Visit Scotland and Event Scotland and all the rest of it. I'd be particularly keen to see actually the sports governing bodies, both national and international, who actually contributed expertise and, in some occasions, money into these events coming here. So, and I think that needs to be recognised, and this will be official record. The second thing was, I'm wondering if the cost count for the value of somebody coming to visit an event, I understand is £50 per day. Well, it used to be 100. Now, I know that was a bit over the top, but is £50 really a reasonable amount for somebody to find bed and breakfast, dinner, bed and breakfast, and then for a 24-hour stay in Dumfries? I would challenge them to find somewhere for £50 to cover their entire cost for the day. So maybe we need to review that. That would actually might give us a more realistic return for what it is. And finally, the last thing, I can't no help myself doing this. I think we need to commend Colin, because I don't think he's missed, or he's missed very, very few things that have happened. He's put a lot of time and effort into that, Colin Smith, and I think that should be recognised as well.
Actually, the point has very largely been covered, but I do want to say I was really interested in 3.9, the key results, the public survey. I do know that the survey that Kirsty produced about the budget, there were a couple of people who said, oh, we don't want events. But in fact, actually, I think it's so important to this region, colossally important to this region, that I'm very glad to see the results of the public survey in 3.9. I don't think we should. I don't think we should lose sight of that, because we're going to need some good news in the going forward future. And I recognise that we are going to require communities to volunteer and step forward and take things up. And I think that the linkages of the volunteer strategy, etc., with this, absolutely essential. But there's a very good reason for doing it and pushing that forward. So I commend the report.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it was kind of following on from Councillor Maitland there about the surveys, and obviously there's been the feedback from the budget consultation. I mean, 2.2, much as I think clearly there's been a lot of benefits and a lot of good results from the investment into major festivals and events, but I mean, are we effectively taking what is a budget decision, which we're already consulting the public, and there has been feedback about funding for events when taken against how we fund other services? So much as I recognise the good work that this has sort of helped generate, are we taking a decision here that's kind of trampling over the sort of feedback we have yet to sort of determine in terms of the budget survey?
I think the key word in 2.2 is strategy. No mention of finance.
Just to confirm through you, Chairman, quite clearly our officers were very mindful of that consideration, and that's why recommendation 2.3 specifically is about bringing forward the final decisions, and that will be based on the fund that it's available, and that's clearly within members' gift. And the Chairman's highlighted the point that it's the strategy rather than the fund that you're agreeing to continue. So I think the point's well made.
Thank you, and I appreciate that clarification. I think just the other thing as well, it does touch on, clearly there's been a bit of much needed negotiation about, what's a community event, what's a volunteer event, how that's policed and sort of kept in order, as it were, and what's a sort of commercial event. And I think that's maybe where we need to tease out the different strengths and weaknesses of enterprises that are delivering something that's a benefit to the community, or is it a corporate event, a commercial event? So I think these need to be considered when we're seeking responsible delivery of our council funds towards things.
Anybody else? Right.
Yeah, Chair, I think this is something that we should sweat and utilise as much as possible, for major festivals. And this is any type of festival. I don't think we make enough of the area. I think it was one suggested to me that the southwest of Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway, is almost the Cornwall of Scotland. And we've got the Lake District that's continually being booked out, and yet an hour up the road you're into Dumfries and Galloway, and a marvellous place. But we've got to do more in the Festival of Politics. And this is any type of festival, and I refer to the Festival of Politics, where, you know, we were asked, why would you ever bring a Festival of Politics to Stranraer? It'll never work. And yet we proved that it can work, and hundreds of people came and participated in that festival. So it's not just about music and art, although it's a huge part of our culture, but it's also, you know, to be diverse and imaginative in terms of what we can provide in this area. And it's a tremendous place for festivals, and we should be making more of it. This was one where, you know, it did not, the area committee put an underwriting, and we didn't need to use it because it was such a tremendous success and actually made money. So they can do, and people are looking for this, and they want to be coming somewhere and doing something, and it's all types. And I'm currently working with a musician that wants to bring art and culture to Patrick on a festival in February. So we have them, and it attracts people, as many other festivals have proved, and we've got to make the most of this.
I think we'd all agree with that one, Willie. There's more to culture in Dumfries and Galloway than agriculture. Anybody else? Jack?
Thanks, Tom. It's just following up for Willie when he's talking about the events going to Port Patrick. Another lever for people is that there's not enough hotel beds. There are more hotel beds or more beds available in Port Patrick than there is in Dumfries. So it's food for thought for people.
I won't ask how you know that, but anyway, moving on. Anybody else? No. Are we happy to accept the recommendations 2.1 to 2.4? Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, development of the Dumfries and Galloway Council Public Involvement Strategy, report by Community Planning and Engagement Manager. Report details the project plan for the development of our Council's Public Involvement Strategy, provide members with opportunity to discuss the objectives of the strategy, and Kirsty's here to take any questions. Open up to members. Jane?
I suppose I was just really thinking about this overall. Where does one start? I know this is about sort of sorting out a strategy and thinking we're going to get all this come through next year. But I'm just making the point that my experience is that we're going to, I think, rely colossally on community councils. Now, I think that's a good thing, but I do think they obviously need to be supported and probably have their hands held on a fairly systematic, rotational basis. I mean, I know, for example, that they are not good at updating their information and that type of thing, which, you know, just that means that holes are falling through and things are sent to the wrong person and mistakes are made. Community councils, for example, just mention consultations that they are given in passing, and they put them down on the table. Very often they've no idea how important they are. I mean, it took me, I think, 2 or 3 years to get them to realise just how important contributing to the LDP was. I mean, you know, this is just planning. It's boring. You know, it really took some time to do that. So I'm aware that they do receive an overwhelming amount of data, and how do they pick through what they actually really ought to look at and consider seriously, and how they can do it. I don't know whether we think about how we can actually chunk up information and assist them in the job that they're supposed to do. We have a unicameral system, and the idea was that it should be done by participation, and consultation should be going out to the people, and they should be able to participate and give their ideas. Actually, that doesn't happen. It really doesn't, I'm afraid, to the extent that people imagined it would. And I think there is a kind of dearth of scrutiny that comes back from the grassroots because of the system we've set up. And I think it's incumbent upon us to think very carefully about how we actually do require these bodies and people to assist us. Otherwise, otherwise I think we'll do worse in the overall political atmosphere at the moment, which is to be very sceptical of political activity and systems and structures. Sorry to be a bit gloomy, but I think that's something we really probably need to put on the table.
No, I take your point. It's not just this area here. I've had discussions at a national level about this, that we do tend to go and consult community councils. But what we haven't done before that is given them the necessary tools in order to be able to respond. And I mean, I know an example in my own area where we went out to consult on bus services, for instance, and the community council sat there, well, none of us use the bus, but we know that folk in the community do. We'll put it on a notice board and ask them to give us a response about how they feel about things. Now, when you've got a community council that's that honest, that's saying, we're not only aware of how this affects people in our community. So I think it's maybe incumbent upon us to introduce training for community councils on how they should respond to certain facets. I mean, the other example I had wearing my bus hat was last year, where the front page of the Galloway News, provost of one of the boroughs in the Stewartry complaining that West Trans was going to cut the evening and Sunday service from his particular village. And I knew off the top of my head that was wrong. When I looked up the timetable, there was no evening or Sunday services. When I checked with officers, there hadn't been for 10 years. And that's another example of you're consulting the community, and the community wasn't even aware of what was in the community. So I think you're quite correct in that matter. If we're going to have consultation, people we're going to consult need to be brought up to speed on the issues that we're looking at. Willie?
Yeah, Chair, we've also got to be careful that we're not just talking the talk and then no walking the walk. And Port Patrick is an excellent example where we were engaging with the community and then we imposed. So in that respect, I think there's lessons to be learned. And if we're going to start off in community empowerment and we are consulting with the community, then we've got to be listening. So Kirsty has a huge job. And equally, when we do go out to consult, we then don't then reverse that and then impose. So, and I'm no doubt that one's coming back to us. But as I say, we've got to be, not just be talking the talk, but we've got to be able to walk the walk as well.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of comments. I'm a wee bit worried about 3.18, that this could develop into the list of who you talk to, as opposed to a guide to who you talk to. And if we were to, this participant engagement network, it gets almost back to the old style, is you go to the same people all the time and you get the same responses all the time. And I'm just worried that might actually. So we need to be really careful when that's taken forward, and I would trust Kirsty to actually make sure that happens. The other thing is the bit about emerging issues, and I do notice there is some work with the NHS and the council and everything and the Integrated Joint Board, but Jane was an observer at a meeting in Langham earlier this week, where it's quite clear that even within some of these organisations, they have different standards or levels of communication and engagement within. Some of them are tremendous, and then others, it's like the pillars of community engagement are actually there to hold up their ivory tower, if you get my drift. So we need to be really clear, and sorry, there's two meetings going on here, but yeah. So I'm just wondering here, how do we actually get that message across, that the pillars of community engagement and the expertise that we have within the council, right, is then utilised by our partners if they don't have that expertise?
Thanks, Chair. Certainly, coming back to Councillor Ferguson's point, one of the ways we're trying to address that is to improve the skills and expertise within our colleagues in other organisations. And we have already, we're sort of nearly 75% of the way through some seriously intense training around consultation and engagement, using things like social media, looking at best practice nationally. And that has been joint agency training where it's been third sector, health and social care, NHS, and a range of other voluntary sector officers, as well as those from the council. And that's already, I think, been effective in using real life examples of where things have possibly not gone as well as they could. At a local level, having that sharing of knowledge and information, and probably there's been lots of light bulb moments saying we didn't get that quite right, but now we understand possibly how we could improve that, and that there's a bigger network of people around the room from all the different sectors who could support it going forward. So I think that's given staff who perhaps have not had a great deal of experience in around consultation and engagement a bit more confidence that they're not alone in that subject, and that that they've got better skills and expertise to take it forward. And certainly one of my roles going forward will be to provide support to other colleagues in how to do that more effectively.
Just respond to 318. That's about this network.
To the network, I am very confident that we need, and it slightly touches on Councillor Maitland's and other members' points, that we need a balance. We need a balance of those that are seldom heard, which is a term that certainly we're looking to use more, as well as those who are often heard and have the structures in place to be able to engage and consult more effectively. And so the Participation Engagement Network will be a method and a way of probably those more active in the kind of role of engagement to come together to look at it. But certainly our primary focus will be in using different creative ways to engage and consult people who don't normally participate, who may have been seldom heard in the past. And certainly technology will be a greater role in that, as well as the face-to-face that we have links in across our communities, across the Communities Directorate, having a greater focus within local wards and also across our partners.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Bit of a left field question here. 311.1, engaging with our council decision-making forums, committees and ward forums. The left field question is, so ward forums now a decision-making, and that means any decision that it makes will have to be implemented by officers unless it is overruled or changed by a central committee. Is that right?
Thank you, Chair. No, I think it's a well-made point by Councillor McClung. I think the term has been used in the context that it's always used, decision-making being the standing orders related to the committees of the Council. It's a well-made point that we need to look at, and I'm happy to take that on board in terms of the clarity around decision-making. So thanks for raising that.
Yeah, I just asked the question because I've actually looked at next week's Wigton Area Committee papers.
Okay, anybody else? No, happy to accept the recommendations. 2.1 to 2.3, thank you very much. Item 9 is developing the Dumfries and Galloway Council Volunteer Strategy, report by Community Planning and Engagement Manager. This report details the project plan for development of the Council's volunteer strategy. It provides members with the opportunity to discuss the policy and the objectives of the strategy. Jamie Ferguson will take any question on the reports. Open it to members. Okay, members happy to accept the recommendations. Thank you. Moving on. Item 10, any other business deemed urgent by the Chairman due to need for decision? I have none. And under terms of the Local Government Scotland Act, that we adopt a resolution to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of paragraph 9, part 1, Schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland